Howdy, my name is Nonat, and welcome to the deep dive for the Catfolk Ancestry in Pathfinder 2e. This is where I go over anything and everything that has to do with the Catfolk Ancestry, starting proficiencies, every single heritage, and every single feat available to them. Catfolk are a really interesting and detailed ancestry that kind of stands out from the rest of the ones available, but before we get to talking about them, I have a big announcement to make. I would like to welcome all of you to the first official Nonat1's Monster Month TM. This is a huge project I've been planning for weeks now, and I'm super hyped to get it kicked off. All throughout the month of August, I will be releasing 20 unique homebrew creatures that you can use in your game. On top of that, all of these creatures will be in the same creature type, so you can use them sort of as an escalating threat from level 1 to level 20 in your campaign. I didn't have to think long about what kind of creature I wanted to start with, so all throughout August, Monday through Friday, I will be releasing a brand new Kobold monster from levels 1 to 20. I figured if Kobold adventurers can hit level 20, why not monsters too? Just yesterday, I released the timid little Kobold Archer level 1 creature. Today, I will have just released a level 2 creature, and I'll be releasing level 3, 4, all the way up to level 20 Kobold enemies. All of this will be available to any Patreon level. Normally my homebrew is exclusively to tiers of $10 or higher, but Monster Month is available to any pledge of $5 or more on any of the available tiers over on the Nonat1's Patreon. So if you're interested in getting your hands on all of these cool kobold creatures as they come out, use the link in the description or the pinned comment below to go to the Nonat1's Patreon page and pledge to any tier you feel comfortable pledging to, and you will get instant access to all of the creatures revealed thus far, as well as every creature as they come out for the rest of August. I'm really excited that this is underway. If you guys really enjoyed this Monster Month, I will be doing more in the future, so keep your eyes peeled, and pledge now. These monsters will not be available forever. So thank you for letting me sell out. Let's talk about cat people. Catfolk proficiencies are pretty interesting. They have 8 hit points, pretty standard, medium creatures, 25-foot movement speed, which always surprises me. When I think about cats, I always think about speed. You know, the cheetah, even the house cat is so incredibly quick compared to many other animals, but they're slower than elves. Their ability boosts are to dexterity, duh, and charisma, which I find interesting. The Amorans, that's the actual in-world name for catfolk, are very trade-heavy people. They're very society-heavy. They love meeting people and especially engaging in that trade. Their societies are very trade-focused, so a high charisma score helps them sell and buy things at the price they would like. They, of course, get a free ability boost and a flaw to their wisdom score, which the ruling for that, or the lore behind that is so interesting, that catfolk are often brave and emotional to a fault. They will fight a losing battle simply to uphold their own pride or defend their people, even if they have no chance of success, leading to a low wisdom score, and I love that. They of course speak Common and Amoran, that's just the catfolk language, and bonus languages equal to intelligence mod. Catfolk and humanoid traits, easy enough. Low light vision, not dark vision, keep that in mind, but they also get a unique feature of land on your feet, which means they always take half fall damage and never fall prone. Let's talk heritages. Clawed catfolk is pretty basic. They get a 1d6 slashing unarmed strike, which is in the brawling group and has the agile, finesse, unarmed traits. Hunting catfolk is super cool. You get an imprecise scent sense, which is really hard to say, with a 30-foot range, and if you've ever smelled a creature before, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to track them. I love that, and I think it's hilarious. Even though that sounds more like a shoony hunting dog feat, cats are still predators, and it makes sense. Jungle catfolk are really good at moving in the jungle. Difficult terrain caused by underbrush does not count as difficult terrain, and even greater difficult terrain created by underbrush is only normal difficult terrain. What's even more important about this is it does not specify natural or magical, meaning a magical spell like, what's the name of that spell? Definitely not looking up spells. I know every spell off the back of my hand. Duh, I'm a professional. What is the spell? Even a spell like Entangle, I as the GM would rule that as underbrush and undergrowth, meaning that the jungle catfolk would not be slowed down by it. And I think that's a really cool feature to have in your heritage. 9 lives catfolk are pretty simple. If you take a critical hit and it drops you to 0 hit points, instead of dropping to dying 2 like anybody else would, you only drop to dying 1 as though you were hit down by a normal hit, not a critical hit. And winter catfolk are the casual, you're good against cold, treat cold temperatures as 1 step less extreme, and resistance equal to half your level against cold damage. But we're not done, because they just released the Ancestry Guide. I say just released, this was like 2 or 3 months ago. The Ancestry Guide has tons of new feats and heritages for all the races that I have not yet covered, which is awesome, so it's a good thing I'm starting these now and not 6 months ago. Starting off, flexible catfolk are better at squeezing into tight spaces. So long as the space doesn't require a squeeze skill check, it is not difficult terrain for you, and you get a +1 circumstance bonus to any attempt to escape anything. Very nice. Liminal catfolk are probably mechanically the strongest heritage out of the lot. You get to cast Detect Magic as an innate spell, and it levels up with you, so it's always going to be useful. Plus, you get a +1 circumstance bonus to occultism checks if you are rolling to identify something not from the material plane. Sharp-eared catfolk, however, are a very close second for the strongest heritage, a +2 circumstance bonus to hearing any undetected creature so they can't sneak up on you, and you get a free action on your turn to point out creatures to your allies. That is fantastic, as the point out action is often not used because people would rather try to hit something than spend an action to tell their allies where it is. And that's all the catfolk heritages. Let's talk feats, the real meat and titers. I feel like I say that every video, but because I take so much time between recording these videos, I don't remember I said it in the previous video until after I said it in this one. I don't even know if that sentence made sense. Cat's luck. Once per day, if you fail a reflex save, roll it again and use the better result. Basically, you're giving yourself advantage, but you can choose to give yourself advantage after knowing that you failed. Really, really good. Catfolk lore, your typical ancestry lore skill, you get trained in acrobatics, survival, and the catfolk lore skill. Catfolk weapon familiarity, our typical ancestry weapon familiarity, gets you trained proficiency in the kama, kukri, scimitar, and sickle. You also gain access to the kama, kukri, and all uncommon catfolk weapons, plus all martial catfolk weapons count as simple, and advanced count as martial. Well-Met Traveler plays into the mercantile socialite aspect of the catfolk, giving you trained proficiency in diplomacy, and the Hobnobber skill feat, which makes you better at gathering information quickly. In the Ancestry Guide, we have a very conflicting feat. Some people really, really like catnap. You know who you are. I do not like catnap. Once per hour, you may take a quick 10-minute nap. And then, upon waking up from this nap, you receive temporary hit points equal to your level for 10 minutes. This means, in order to make use of these temporary hit points, you need to nap for 10 minutes and then know you're going to take damage or have combat of some kind within 10 minutes of waking up. The big argument for this feat is, oh, well, if you are dungeon diving and you know there's going to be a fight in the next room because there's a fight every room, then you'll always want to clear out a room, take a nap, and then go into the next room. But let me place my argument, because people don't believe me when I say this. Dungeon exploration takes so much longer in-game than people realize. I argue that simply searching a single room takes no less than 15 to 20 minutes in character. You know, looking under things, examining things closely. If you're rolling perception to seek a room, you're going corner to corner and checking things out. People argue that, oh, within 10 minutes you can get through 2 or 3 rooms of a dungeon and there will be a fight by then. And I say no. At least not in my games. This is very much a game-to-game basis on how good this feat will be. Personally, when I do a dungeon crawl, if it's a 15-room dungeon, I might have 4 or 5 fights, some puzzles, and some empty rooms to throw my players off. But if the characters are rolling the seek action to check those rooms out, it's gonna take more than 10 minutes to examine that room, meaning even if you catnapped in the previous room, after examining that room, your temporary hit points are gone, and if you want them back, you're going to need to say, hold on, guys. Actually, you can't, because you'd have to wait an hour. So an hour later, you have to say, oh, let me rest for 10 more minutes and get my 2 temporary... I hate this feat! Catfolk Dance is a really cool and interesting feat, albeit not the strongest thing in the world. For one action, you can roll acrobatics against an adjacent creature's reflex DC. If you succeed, they take a -2 penalty to reflex saves until the start of your next turn. If you critically succeed, they're also flat-footed until the start of your next turn. That crit succeed is nice, but not super common to happen, but that -2 to reflex saves can be utilized. If you are a spellcaster or you have an ally who is a spellcaster, this can be a really, really nice combo, especially if on top of that, you can inflict clumsy somehow. Inflict clumsy, Catfolk Dance, suddenly they're looking at a -3 or -4 to reflex saves, and your spellcasters with something like Electric Arc suddenly have a much higher chance of getting a crit. So it has its moments, it's not super useful by itself, but in the realm of party synergy and combos, it has its place. Saberteeth. No clue why this is a level 1 feat, and also not really sure why it's not a heritage, but you gain a 1d6 piercing jaws unarmed attack. Weirdly, unlike some versatile heritage feats, this does not have the lineage trait. Typically, a feat with the lineage trait can only be taken at first level, and if you do not take it, you can never take it. Saberteeth feels like it should have that trait. How can you hit level 5 or level 9 and then suddenly have long, sharp, pointy teeth? This feels like something you should have been born and raised with from youth. It's kind of weird that you can take this past level 1. It's a fine feat, a 1d6 jaw attack is not bad. It's just weird. And Wintercat Senses. You ignore concealment caused by ice and snow, so if an enemy you're fighting is in a snowstorm, they are not concealed to you. That has its moments, but maybe check on your campaign before picking this feat. Unless your cat is from a snowy land, in which case you should probably pick this feat. Catfolk Weapon Rake. Really cool name. You just get the crit specialization effect for catfolk weapons. Climbing Claws is actually insanely good. Any kind of feat or ability that can give you a fly speed, climb speed, swim speed, or burrow speed are very powerful. Because remember, so long as you have that speed, you will never need to roll that skill unless you're in dire conditions. This means you will never need to roll athletics to climb ever again, unless it's like a sheer surface or something like that. As long as you use your climb speed, you can just go. Very powerful. Expanded Luck is really hard to recommend. It's good. It lets you use level 1's Cat's Luck on any saving throw, not just reflex. But it's still stuck to once per day. So basically it just upgrades it into reroll any failed saving throw, use the better result. It's cool, could be better. Light Paws is honestly amazing, especially for those who find themselves stuck in close quarters when they don't want to be. You can take 2 actions, stride and then step, or step and then stride, meaning you can take a step action, get out of the attack of opportunity range, and then move. On top of that, you ignore any and all difficult terrain during this move action. And keep in mind, you normally cannot step into or in difficult terrain. So if you are in attack of opportunity range in difficult terrain, this can get you out of that and back to safety. Very situational, very good. Springing Leaper sounds insane at first, but isn't quite as terrifying. For 2 actions, you can double your vertical leap, or for 3 actions, you can triple it. This is not the same thing as a high jump. A leap typically lets you jump 3 feet vertically. This basically means you can spend 2 actions to jump 6, or 3 actions to jump 9 feet vertically. This is still amazing, because unless you have certain athletics skill feats, a high jump with a DC 30 caps out at a maximum of an 8 feet jump. This means with Springing Leaper, if you spend 3 actions, you will jump higher with no athletics check than somebody who crit succeeds their DC 30 high jump. This is a phenomenal, phenomenal feat. Back over in the Ancestry guide, focused catnap makes catnap a little bit better. Now you can refocus while you catnap, regardless of what your refocus normally entails. So you spend 10 minutes, and whenever you get that focus point back, at level 5, you would also get 5 temporary hit points that last 10 minutes. Does this make catnap a good feat? No. Does it make it better? A little. Why don't the 10 hit points just last an hour? Graceful Guidance, a slight upgrade to the aid action. Normally you can only aid with an attack roll or a skill check. With Graceful Guidance, you can also aid with a reflex save. So for example, if you know there is no way to disable a trap and you need to simply dive and roll through it with a reflex save, you can help an ally by rolling reflex saves for them and giving them a bonus based on the aid action. It has its moments, pretty useful, but also not always going to come into play. Lucky Break is a different upgrade for Cat's Luck. Now you can reroll reflex saves and athletics and acrobatics checks. Whether they fail or crit fail, you can use your once per day Cat's Luck to reroll and use the better result. Pride Hunter, you can hide behind your allies. I don't really know why this is a Catfolk feat, I'm gonna be honest. This is basically that level 1 hide in shadows or whatever halfling feat. I'm not a fan of this one. Just doesn't fit the motif of the Catfolk. They're not small enough to hide behind allies. Level 9's Aggravating Scratch is pretty fun. It's an upgrade to the Clawed Catfolk heritage that critical hits now inflict 1d4 persistent poison damage. Is this an absolute game changer? Not at level 9. This would be cool as like a level 1, maybe even a level 5 feat. I wish this was the lower level version and it got an upgrade at level 9. 1d4 persistent poison at level 9 is just unnecessary. Shared Luck is a big upgrade to Cat's Luck. Now, when you use Cat's Luck on a reflex save, if that same reflex save is affecting any allies within 10 feet of you, they can also gain the effect of Cat's Luck, rerolling their reflex save and using the better result. This is basically useful for if your party gets fireballed and you're all clumped together. Basically, everybody gets advantage. Pretty great, honestly. Wary Skulker is only useful in exploration-heavy campaigns, specifically the campaigns that use the rules-as-written exploration rules. Normally, you can only be taking one exploration activity at a time, scouting or avoiding notice. Not both. Wary Skulker lets you do both, basically allowing you to stealth and roll perception at the same time. Well-Groomed is hilarious and honestly pretty decent. Because you keep yourself so neat and tidy, you get a +1 circumstance bonus to all saving throws against diseases, and successes are automatically critical successes on all diseases. I find this hilarious and I love it. Evade Doom. If at any time you would gain the doomed condition, you can roll a 17 or higher on a flat check to not be doomed. I love this. I think this plays well into cats are just stupid lucky, and it's great. No evidence. Similar to Wary Skulker, this allows you to take 2 different exploration activities. You can avoid notice and cover tracks at the same time, when usually you'd have to do one or the other. Predator's Growl is really cool and flavorful. Whenever you discover a hidden or undetected creature for the first time, you can use your reaction to demoralize them, and even if you don't share a language, you don't take the penalty. You get to use your full bonus, so even if you uncover a kobold that only speaks Draconic, you can still intimidate it and make that thing run off crying to its papa. Sense for Trouble is not good. Sense for Trouble is an upgrade to Cat's Luck. You can now use it to reroll your initiative. Rather than saving it to reroll a reflex save, or even better, Fortitude, Will, Acrobatics, Athletics, any of those, you can reroll your initiative. This could be really good if you are playing a character who needs to go first. You know, if you're at the bottom of initiative, your entire game plan is destroyed somehow. I don't think that's super common, but overall, a level 9 feat that allows you to once per day reroll initiative, that's not that great. Silent Step. For 1 action, you get to take 2 actions. Step, Sneak, and Hide. This is great if you can step behind cover and hide right away. That saves you so much time. Remember, ranged attackers and spell attackers, if you have some feats, you can hide and then cast a spell or make a ranged attack and your target will be flat-footed so long as you succeeded your stealth check. This is great action economy to allow you to quickly step, hide, and then make an attack that makes them flat-footed. This is great on ranged rogues, 100%. 13th level, Black Cat Curse is so cool. As a reaction, once per day, if you see a creature roll a saving throw and succeed, you can use your reaction to force them to reroll it and take the worst result. This is a really cool spin on Cat's Luck, and the best part is you don't even need Cat's Luck as a prerequisite. Personally, I think this is better than Cat's Luck, as there's nothing worse than your spellcaster using fear or some really good control effect and them natural 20ing the effect to have nothing happen. You can Black Cat Curse, possibly save the entire encounter. Caterwaul is another really cool reaction. If an ally within 30 feet would be reduced to 0 hit points and not die on the spot, you can spend your reaction to keep them at 1 hit point. This is sort of like Orc Ferocity if you've seen that feat, which keeps you at 1 hit point, but you can use it on any ally within 30 feet. This is fantastic. If you're in melee, a Catfolk champion or fighter could make great use out of this reaction with their fellow melee combatants. I really, really like it. And Catfolk Weapon Expertise, you're expert with all Catfolk weapons. Back over in the Ancestry Guide, in Spirit Hazard is weird, is really cool, and is really weird. This feat is only helpful on a Catfolk with good thievery skill. As a reaction, if you ever disable a hazard, and you didn't break it in the process, you can possess it? Kind of? Even though the trap is disabled. If, within the next 10 minutes, you see a creature perform an action that would trigger the hazard, you can instantly rearm and trigger the hazard on the spot. If you're confused, here's an example. You disable a spike trap, a pressure plate that shoots spikes out of the floor. You then use your reaction and awaken a spirit of creation. Whatever that means, the trap is now disabled. You can step on the pressure plate, you can jump on it, nothing is going to happen. You step through and wait. An angry goblin sprints down the hallway towards you and puts a foot on the pressure plate. It's disabled, but you use your reaction, magically rearming the trap, having the pressure plate go down, and skewering the goblin with the spike trap. It is a weird feat, it is super niche and situational, but it's really cool. I don't know how it fits into Catfolk. This feels more like a rogue feat, I'll be honest, but I don't hate it. Finally, level 17, Cat's Luck can finally be used once per hour instead of once per day. This is decent, but it's also level 17. Part of me thinks once per hour at level 13 would have been fine, and then maybe make level 17 once per 10 minutes. That would be cool. That would still limit it to basically 1 reroll per encounter, but useful enough that you can get away with it in some really cool situations, especially during exploration. Once per hour doesn't feel all that much better than once per day, but maybe I'm wrong. Reliable luck is good. I don't know if it's worth a level 17 feat. But up until we got the Ancestry Guide, that was the only level 17 feat we had. Now we've got 2 more, starting with Elude Trouble. As a reaction, if an enemy misses you with a melee attack, you can take a stride action for free, and this movement does not trigger attacks of opportunity or reactions from the creature who missed you. Again, kind of a weak level 17 feat. I can walk away from you when you miss me, or if you're a gnome, I can teleport to the Feywild. This seems a little imbalanced. 10 lives is cool, risky, but will save someone's character someday. But this is a big gamble. As a reaction, if you would die, not fall unconscious, not become dying, if you would die, you get to roll a flat d20. If you roll a 17 or higher, you are reduced to the wounded condition. You are reduced to dying 3, or if you have the Die Hard feat, dying 4. this is not good enough, in my opinion. It's cool, don't get me wrong. For you to survive and stave off death like this, that's really, really neat, but it's such a low chance. This is a level 17 feat. At least give the courtesy of making it a DC 15. DC 17 or higher is so rare that to make this your capstone ancestry feat, have the situation come up and roll a 12? That's just gonna feel so bad. But nevertheless, that is the Catfolk Ancestry for Pathfinder 2e. Very luck-based, very cool, very sneaky, lots of really interesting stuff going on, and a lot of different directions you can go with just your ancestry feats. Truck, you are not doing this again! Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments, are you playing a Catfolk? Do you plan to play a Catfolk? Is there any feat you do or don't like? I love hearing from you. Give me those opinions. Tell me all about it. If you enjoyed, be sure to like the video if you want more people to see it and it helped you out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to see more Pathfinder 2e content just like this. I want to give a massive shout out to my list of patrons here. And remember, if you are interested in the No Nat 1's Monster Month TM, be sure to pledge to the Patreon using the link in the description or the comments down below. I'll be releasing all 20 unique kobold monsters all throughout the month of August. So thank you so very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no Nat 1s.